Welcome to the Made in Maine podcast, where we dive headfirst to discuss difficult topics, core principles, and the creativity behind the thriving Made in Maine community. We invite you to tune in whether you're a skeptic, on the fence, or have many years designing and creating Maine-made products. Join us as we grow together and continue to put Maine on the map with the Made in Maine podcast. All right, here we are again. We meet again.
Yes, sir. What's happening?
It hasn't been too long since we talked last, but
No, it's only been a week. But
yeah. Well, let me see. I've had an interesting day so far.
Yep.
Dealing with computer stuff, but since the last time we met, I've brought in some new product. So I'm always trying to switch it up. It was kind of like what we talked about with Spencer's, where he brings, new flavors and they mix it up. They get rid of the old and they bring in the new,
Yep.
Constantly changing things up. And that's kind of what I need to do too with my box of Maine and the items that are in it. That way, when people go to get a box, they don't see all the same items.
yeah, I think most businesses need to do that.
Yeah.
You have to clear out those things that aren't really working, that are
something maybe new and exciting. And so this one I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's I just never did it. It's a blueberry pancake and waffle mix.
Nice.
So it has all the components to make it. And well, actually, I take that back. You need to add some eggs and butter and oil. But it has the mix in it, and it has the wild Maine blueberries, which is the key ingredient to some blueberry pancakes.
Is that from our friend Jimbo?
That is from our friend Jimbo at New England Cupboard. Nice. We had him on the show as well. I don't remember what episode it was, but
it was a while back.
If you want to hear that episode, make sure you go check it out. We're on Podbean and Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and a bunch of other platforms as well.
Yeah, speaking of those platforms, we have actually surpassed over 1,000 downloads now. So
yeah, not too bad for 6. I think about 6 months.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And the craziness of this year.
Yeah, and especially for such a specific topic that we deal with. We're focusing on Maine, and it'd be a little different, I think, if we focused abroad, nationally or even abroad.
But I think that's kind of what we're doing, is we're expanding a little bit more. And today on the show, we're going to have Jason from Governor's Restaurant. He's an operation manager, marketing manager over there, and so we're kind of expanding. We're not just products, but companies and restaurants in Maine that were made in Maine, and Governor's has a long history, just like Spencer's ice cream.
Yeah.
And so we want to really just try to capture all of those businesses that we can in the best light possible.
Definitely.
So what's been going on with you? Anything new?
Not much. We're going to be breaking ground on the new shop
very soon
on Monday. So it's a Thursday today.
Yep.
And on this upcoming Monday, we're going to be starting some excavation and groundwork. So,
are you prepared to do that and still fulfill orders, or do you put things on hold?
I'm not doing it.
Okay, so you're not going to oversee anything. You might pop out.
I'll oversee, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to be the one doing it.
Right,
so,
you're not.
I just I'm spread too thin already. So
I hear you on that. Yeah, and so that's one of the things you got to be able to do when you run your own business. You got to be able to change gears constantly, put on different hats. We've talked about it before. And like you said on the last episode, learning how to manage your time.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to need to read that book.
Yep.
But yeah, I like to write down a lot of my stuff. I just got done telling Matt that, when I need to do something, a lot of times I just write it down, because throughout the day, it's like I get blasted with so many different things.
Yep.
And it's hard to stay on task sometimes.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have a whiteboard just like you. You have a whiteboard on the wall right behind you.
Yep.
And same thing. I just have to write stuff down. Otherwise, it'll come right out of my mind.
That's it. And then, then it's too late or something. You miss something.
Yep.
But yeah, well, what else has been going on? Let's see. Well, I got the new product. I'm trying to think. I feel like there's some more things that we could talk about. But
I've noticed recently that I've had several international orders from people who haven't realized that when you import something, especially into like the UK or the EU, that you have to pay an import tax, a fee, a duty, something like that. And it's only been recently, and I've noticed that like I've had like 3 or 4 in the past couple of weeks that have been going internationally, where they end up getting the item or getting a notice that the item is ready for them to pick up, and they don't realize when they purchase the item that they have to pay those fees,
the duties, right?
Yeah.
Taxes or whatever.
Do you do a lot of international? Or?
You know, I was terrified of international for quite a while. I didn't know what to expect, if there was a different process with it all. And it's not too different. I mean, you do have to do what's called a declaration page.
Yep.
And that's just like a documentation for customs. When our package goes over through customs, they need to know exactly what's in the package.
Yeah, and how much it's worth and
value of it.
Yep.
What it consists of. Is it merchandise?
Or is it like a gift or, something like that?
So we have to do that. And that's not too bad. I use ShipStation. I think you use that as well.
Yep.
And ShipStation has it all on there. And it prompts you it will say, hey, this is an international order.
Yeah.
And then so ShipStation is a great program. I don't think we've talked about it much. Let's just real quick dive into it. It's a platform program. It's a paid program that you use, a third party.
Yep.
And what it does is it collects through API, it collects all of the information, the orders through your website, through Amazon, eBay, Etsy, any type of e-commerce platform.
Yeah, so people that ship on multiple platforms, it will bring all of those orders into one place. So rather than having to go to each of those platforms individually and ship from those platforms individually, it brings it all into one place, and it makes it super easy.
100% worth the money.
Yep.
I remember when I first started doing this, and I talked to you about it. Do you remember?
Yep, I did.
I asked you what you used, and you told me ShipStation.
Yep.
And I was like, what's ShipStation? I was using a different program,
Yep.
or I think I was doing it all manually.
Yep.
I was like, why would I pay $40 a month or $50 a month? Or I think it's even lower than that when you start out.
Yep.
Why would I pay that when
But there's so much more to it too than just the convenience of having everything in one place. They also have automation tools and things like that. The
reports are amazing. I'm on there. I'm looking. It tells me how many sales I've gotten on all my platforms, totals. It tells me shipping that I've spent for the month.
Yep.
I mean, it really breaks it all. Do you look at some of the insights in the reports?
I do. Yeah. It makes it super easy.
Man, it's necessary. And and I agree. I mean, there's other ones out there, and I've used a couple of them, but it's 100% worth the money. And then once you scale up your business, it has more features on it that you can use.
Yep.
Depending on which, subscription you want to purchase. But yeah. So anyways, ShipStation, great program. It has it all in there. If you're going to do international orders, it will ask you the questions. You can put in United States Postal Service. You can add a UPS account, a FedEx account. So you can use all of those different accounts, and you can kind of see which one's giving you the best price.
Yep.
And you can select international order on there.
Yep.
And just click and print off my label. I use a Dymo printer.
Yep.
It's a 4XL. And I have 2 of those. Those print the 4x6 labels, shipping labels. And you just, you connect it with ShipStation fairly easily.
Yep.
And just click and print, and it spits it out. As of recently, I went and got another printer called a Rollo, and I find that one to be even better.
Yeah, when I first started doing this, I was actually printing out the shipping labels
on the printer,
on not just like a laser printer, but an inkjet printer. Whoa. And taping them to the box. And that took a while, and it took.
You got to cut it. Cut it.
Yeah,
I did that too.
Yeah, and it was man, that was crazy. And now I have one of the Dymo label writers.
I mean, they're $150, $200 or something.
They can be quite expensive, but it's really convenient. There's no ink or anything. It's a thermal label writer.
Heat transfer.
So it transfers with heat onto the label, and you just peel and stick, and it makes it super easy.
It's another one of those things where when you're starting your business, you invest into it, and it saves you time. And I think in the long run, it's going to save me money, because toner cartridges and the inkjets or whatever they're using, the ink cartridges, those aren't cheap. Those are going to add up probably faster than when you have to buy, because you have to buy the roll for the Dymo printer or the stack of labels.
Yeah, the roll can be a little bit expensive too.
Yeah,
but
it is.
But when you break it down, it's like less than 5 cents.
I buy 10 rolls for like $45, I think. So it's like $4.50 a roll.
Yeah.
And then it's like 200 labels per roll. I don't know what the math is on that, but like you said, I think it's like 5 cents.
Yeah.
So not only, I think you're saving money, and you're going to be saving a lot of time than having to print it from the printer, cut it all out, tape it.
And it makes it look good too. Like it makes it look a lot more professional. Like, it's the same type of label that you're going to be seeing on an Amazon package,
Exactly. It's exact same label.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you want to strive for eventually, is you want to have that professional looking package as best, from down to the label.
Yeah, for sure.
So great. That's good stuff that we've never talked about before. And I think one of these times we're going to make a whole episode about packing and shipping and the whole process from start to finish. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, which makes sense because that's what we both do,
all day, every day.
Yep.
So thanks, guys. Tune in for Jason from Governor's Restaurant in Maine.
In 1959, Leith and Donna Wadleigh opened a restaurant that served the best burgers in town and a soon-to-be famous strawberry pie, and eating at Governor's Restaurant was on its way to becoming a Maine tradition. Today you can find Governor's Restaurant and Bakery in 6 locations throughout Maine, still serving good, wholesome food and yummy desserts at prices your family can afford. Come in and try one of Gov's favorites. There's always something good cooking at Governor's.
Yes, sir. So I love Governors. Jason, welcome so much. Thank you for coming to the Made in Maine podcast show. It's good to have you on here.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, you're our neighbor. You're right down the road from us. I'm 695 Stillwater Ave in Box of Maine. What's the address on Governors in Old Town?
We're 973 Stillwater Avenue.
973.
So a long 3-minute drive down here to the studios today.
Well, we appreciate you coming down and taking some time to sit down with us. I just want to dive into Governor's history. I'm born and raised here in Maine. My grandmother used to take me to Governor's Restaurant, we lived in Bangor, but we would come up to the Old Town one. And I don't know, I don't know if it was just the atmosphere or the buffet. Which one is the flagship store? Do you know?
Old Town is our original.
That's what I thought.
That's certainly the flagship. And I share a similar story because my grandfather would bring me to Governor's when I was a kid. And we lived in Lincoln. And so we'd come to Bangor.
Yep.
Back when going to the city was a big deal. You'd go once on a weekend, right? And we would stop in at the Old Town store on the way back through. And obviously, it's way different. Nowadays, actually, we've remodeled or added onto that restaurant 20 times.
No way.
Wow.
The Old Town restaurant has been remodeled 20 times?
Yeah, it's between remodels and additions.
Wow. So it's been there for how long?
We opened in June of 1959 as an ice cream stand.
That's right. We just had Spencer's on, the ice cream parlor, and you guys have Spencer's ice cream now, right?
We do. We've been serving that at our Old Town location for the last 2 summers. Jack actually makes a signature flavor for us. He uses our chocolate no-bake cookies in peanut butter ice cream.
And you just happened to bring some cookies with you today.
How could I not show up without dessert?
I feel like not only is Governor's known for their quality food, but it's specifics. Like like the yeast roll was a big one. The cookies, the bakery, and obviously Spencer's ice cream now a part of the company. And so Jason has been so kind to bring all these cookies. I mean, what are we going to do with all these cookies?
I don't know.
We're going to have to figure out how to give them away or something.
My wife will really enjoy the what are these, date-filled cookies? Is that what they are? Or raspberry?
Yeah, there's both.
Nice.
So good. No bakes and chocolate chips. There's date-filled.
Yep.
So we might have to bring some home to our wives, but maybe
we could do a giveaway.
Yeah, we might be able to give some of these tasty treats away to you guys as well. So, all right. Well,
my experience with Governor's is actually a little different than you guys because I'm not from Maine. I didn't grow up in Maine. So Governor's is actually more of a recent thing for me, but it's still like a pretty regular place that we go. My dad lives a couple hours away, and when he says, "Oh, I'm coming up to Bangor, you want to meet me at Governor's?" Like we both We both actually order the Reuben. That's one of our favorites.
Nice.
And so it is, definitely becoming a special place for us.
That's great. That's a great story. Because I think, we're family based, obviously, and we're still family owned. The son of our founders owns the company. His name's Randy Wadleigh. And, we really think of us as a big family, the Govs family. You can always go somewhere else, but you can always come home again. Which is my part of my story with the company. But there's a lot of us that have that family connection to the company and to the restaurants. So that's cool.
And that's kind of what the atmosphere and the environment feels like in there. When you go into a Governor's restaurant, at least to the ones that I've been to in Bangor and Old Town, you see the train. I remember being a kid, and I bring my kids there now, and you just stare and you see the train going around the tracks up on the top. You see, the old Governor out front, and it just kind of has that home style feel to it, even down to the menu. So we'll definitely dive into the menu and more, but I think we should go right to the history. We talked about it a little bit, but what's your involvement with Governors? And you've been there for a while, and what do you do there, and what's the history behind it?
So I'm technically the director of operations for the company. I've been with Governors twice, actually, 2 different stints. Right out of school at Maine, I was with the company for 6 years. I did a little bit of everything. I was an assistant manager. I was a GM of our Bangor store for a couple years. I shifted into a marketing role and did that for a couple years. And then I moved away to Boston and did the big city thing for a while, and was there for 5 years. And when I had the opportunity to come back, I had reached out to Randy, the owner, and my question for him was, hey, would you be a reference for me if I'm coming back into the area? And his question was, well, would you consider coming back?
Wow.
And so I came back in a marketing role, and I've been back in the area since 2011. So, a little over 9 years back with the company, and recently transitioned into the operations director role, which means that I do pretty much everything. Even cook breakfast every once in a while.
We're kind of operation managers.
Yes, we are.
Matt and I run small, very, very small businesses, family-owned businesses, and we're just talking about how we have to wear many hats. We have to be constantly transitioning. We have to do the marketing and promotion for our companies. We're right involved with the packing and the shipping because we run online businesses. We've done trade shows, and actually I think that's where I originally met you, was at a commerce event that they do at the Cross Insurance Center, just getting out there and trying to promote the brand, the company as best we can. And, it's definitely...
Well, you guys absolutely know that as a small business, there's only so much labor there. It's a lot of it is you guys, or you and a few other select folks. And if there's something that has to be done, it doesn't matter what your title is. You could be the CEO of the company, but you're stuffing boxes to send out. I spent a day this week stuffing lobster rolls for our lobster roll special that we hosted, and that's the type of stuff we have to do. So it certainly is a unique experience, but I wouldn't give it up for anything.
So you actually hold another hat. You have your own podcast, correct? Or 2?
Well, so yes, I've been involved with a couple of podcasts. We're kind of currently on hiatus on those.
Okay, yeah.
But I was really fortunate to kind of jump into podcasting early, and with a friend of mine, Pat Lemieux, we hosted a social media podcast called The Social Dig. We did that for a couple years, and then we kind of ran out of stuff to talk about. And we both got busy with different roles in our professional lives and things like that. And
we understand.
You guys get it, right? So we've talked many times about doing something, a podcast project together again. But another friend of mine, Jared Feldmus, who I went to college with, so I've known him from for a long time, and we launched a Netflix podcast where we just talk about shows that we watch on Netflix, and we call that Net Affliction.
Yeah, I like that.
Net Affliction. That's a nice name.
We talk every couple of weeks about, all right, when are we going to record next? And we just haven't been able to make that happen. But that one's, we'll put something together for that at some point.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge for us to schedule and, get work, because not only are we scheduling between us, but in our businesses and then the guests that we're having on. And yeah, it's a challenge.
It's definitely a challenge, especially right now with this pandemic thing going on. We've had to work around. Well, surprisingly, Matt and I, our businesses, fortunately, and I say this every day, I'm super grateful. Running our online businesses, both Matt and I have seen a significant increase because people were home, I should say. I think more people are getting out now.
Yep.
Which is a good thing. And so we've been incredibly busy over the past 3 or 4 months. But Governors, however, on the other hand, Dine In was at a halt for quite a while, right? Sometime in March, how did that, let's kind of rewind a little bit. Let's go back to March. How did that impact, the COVID-19? How did that impact Governors? What are some changes that you guys have had to make? I'm sure you had to sit down, start thinking outside the box. As the operation guy, the marketing, your job is to bring people in, right? To make sure they're coming in and they're dining in. What are some things that you did to keep that business going? I know one of them, and you and I did a little bit of talk, and we tried to work something out where I wanted to offer those famous yeast rolls in the box of Maine. We couldn't make it work out, but what are some other things that you had to do?
Guys, as you know, that was a whirlwind. The week of March 16th. We had, when everything kind of hit the fan, we sat down and developed a plan. All right, what are we going to do? What are our options? And we had 3 different phases of our plan that we were looking at. And on that Monday, we went through 2 of the 3 phases in like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Between announcements from the government in terms of what you can and can't do and all that stuff. And so we had to switch to a takeout only model, which works better in some of our stores versus others because each store is unique. We don't build restaurants from the ground up. We go in and renovate old buildings and put new facilities in them. So each restaurant is different. And so, for example, our Old Town restaurant, being an old ice cream stand, the front corner of that building is the original ice cream stand.
Okay.
Yep.
And so we've got ice cream windows there. And so for us to do takeout out of there, it's really easy.
Yeah.
We don't have to walk a long distance. For example, our store in Waterville is in a hotel. And so for us, there's no guests staying in the hotel. So there's a significant portion of our business.
Because normally the guests in the hotel go down to the restaurant and eat, right?
Right.
So that's...
Right. We get a big portion of our business just out of guests in hotels in that spot. But the building it's on the second floor. And so you have to walk down some stairs to get outside. And for us to do a curbside takeout model there, it's more of a challenge.
Sure.
We consider ourselves incredibly fortunate. Those first couple weeks in March, nobody knew what was going on. There was so much fear. You thought you might touch a doorknob and get sick, right?
Yeah.
So we really saw some significant decreases in sales. I mean, we were probably 20 to 30% of our typical sales.
Wow. So
right in there.
And Governor's clientele, is it generally older generations that are?
Well, that's a demographic of the state of Maine too.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
We try as much as we can to reach out to families and things like that. And that demographic wasn't necessarily going outside when this whole thing hit too. So, I think the demographics of our state lend itself to, being more cautious about health. So, once we get through those first couple of weeks and we figured some things out, we cut our menu back significantly because we have a big menu. So it's
what does that look like? Do you stop ordering certain foods from the manufacturers and the distributors?
So we cut a bunch of menu items off that maybe some of our slower selling menu items that we didn't have to stock and prepare. And that was part of it too. And we had to lay off or furlough, somewhere around 150 people.
Wow.
And so that obviously that's a tough thing to have to consider and ultimately do. And before you think about that, we've been able to bring a lot of those people back at this point.
Yeah,
the majority of them we've been able to bring back. But that put us at a situation where we had skeleton crews, so we couldn't, prepare all of the dishes that we might have had before. So that lended itself to reviewing our menu and what we could really offer.
And you don't want to. You have to make those decisions, but at the same time, you don't want to lose the service and quality.
Correct.
So I feel like you got to try to find that fine line of balance. Like, okay, well, I need at least to have this many people in here to operate efficiently.
Right. So we cut that menu back. Governors is famous for special deals. We do a daily special every day. And we decided pretty early on that we were going to try to offer some good deals for folks just because money was such an unknown for people. People were being laid off. This was before all the unemployment packages and stimulus packages that were out there. And so there was a lot of unknown. And I really think that's what led to that first couple of weeks of just a big drop in business levels because people were, you don't know what's going to happen, right? So, you're not going to spend all your money in advance of figuring that stuff out. So, we decided early on that we were going to offer our daily specials every day at those daily special prices. So that we started to see, that take off for us and really help the business. And I think once we were able to prove to our guests and our regular customers that we could deliver top-notch takeout experience, and that really helped. We consider ourselves pretty forward-thinking. We had things like online ordering and delivery through services like DoorDash and stuff like that. We'd already had that established, so we didn't have to scramble as much as some other restaurants to be able to get that stuff up and running. And so that really started to help us. And
did you start to see that increase, the online ordering and the pickups?
So, for example, I ran a statistic sometime in April before the COVID crisis started. 2% of our sales were digital.
Okay.
While we were in the middle of that, it was somewhere near 30%.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's a big increase.
So between DoorDash and online ordering and all.
Do you think it might be a stretch, but do you think that having that already set up helped get you through this time? Like if you didn't have any digital, there was some companies that didn't have any digital or any delivery system or pickup window or nothing in place. And, some of them didn't make it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was too late to put it in place. It would take a while to start. Because that stuff you can't just set up overnight. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
absolutely. I think it did. I mean, I think we were able to focus on other things.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have done this without our managers, our leaders of the company, our team members. I mean, these guys, we asked them to change overnight and do things that they've never done before, and they were super flexible and embraced it. And not one of them said, no, I'm not going to do this way. And they all came up with great ideas and great systems to be able to make it work.
Yeah, so on the last episode when we talked to Jack at Spencer's Ice Cream about how he had to overcome some of the challenges with COVID, he talked about how the drive-in window that he put in is something that they plan on keeping even after this is all done. Mm-hmm. Are there things that you guys plan on keeping, like solutions to that problem that you plan on continuing in the future?
Absolutely. Curbside pickup was something that was kind of on our list in the past. We just never really got to it. That was something we implemented pretty quickly. Probably that first week we started doing curbside pickups, and that will be here to stay. For us, and so people can drive up and we'll bring your order right out to you, so you don't have to get out of your car. Taking payments over the phone and things like that. Things we didn't necessarily really embrace because it costs more. If you take a payment over the phone, and a lot of regular folks don't understand necessarily how credit card transactions work. Yep. Companies pay a higher percentage to the credit card companies to take those, but we'd rather have that payment all taken care of. So that we don't have to handle anything on the payment side when you pull in. So things like that, definitely. Menu items,
You
definitely
can't offer the whole shebang, can you, on digital and stuff, or?
We found that some things work better for that. Like fried food in delivery isn't always the best thing to send out. We looked at takeout packaging, and we made some changes to our takeout packaging pretty quickly in terms of bringing in some stuff that we could better utilize for dishes. We implemented some family meals. A lot of companies did that. That was something that years ago we did. We served family fried chicken and family fish and things like that. And so for us, it was pretty easy to bring that stuff back and offer some of those deals for customers so that they felt like they were getting quite a bit of value and stuff that traveled well and was homemade, home style cooking. So
yeah, wow, that is awesome. Like that you guys were just on top of it. You're constantly thinking outside of the box and I think that's how a lot of the businesses are going to stay in business. You got to get that fire back under you and say, okay, what can I do here to keep this alive? Because it's night and day, right? It's everything about who you guys are.
It's in our DNA. Governors has a long history of scrapping for survival, right from the beginning. The original founders, Leith and Donna, they would go to Florida in the wintertime to work just to make enough money to run the business again in the summertime. And ultimately, that's why they decided to open up a full-service restaurant, because they didn't want to have to do that. But they struggled through that. I mean, back in the 1960s, this wasn't a happening area of the state. There wasn't much else other than Governor's Restaurant and some trailer parks and other things like that. And the university was around there, but it wasn't like it was. And then you had increases in competition. They were scared out of their minds when McDonald's decided to open up. A couple lots down from them. And honestly, that was probably the best thing that ever happened because it brought a lot of traffic to this area.
Yep. Sometimes competition is good for everybody.
For real.
Healthy.
Yeah. So our company has, it's in our DNA that we scrape and we do our best and we do what we can. We offer crazy specials, things like our lobster roll day that we've offered for many years and stuff to try to promote, what we do, what we're all about, and earn some goodwill with our guests.
Yes. So speaking of DNA and like the history and stuff, you brought some pretty cool, I don't know what you'd call them, artifacts. So share with us what you've brought.
I brought a couple of menus. One of them is a menu from the late 1960s.
Is that the one I have?
That's the one you have in your hand. And,
all right.
And that's pretty cool. Read off some of those prices.
All right, check this out, guys. So we have a menu. It's framed up from the 1960s. The governor's on it. And one of the things that jumps out to me right off the bat is it says free delivery on orders over $3. $3. Wow.
Yep.
I've only heard stories about my dad used to tell me, I used to get a cheeseburger for $0.25. Well, here it is. They got the hamburger. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The cheeseburger is actually 38 cents. You could get a hot dog for 23 cents. You got a nice pizza list going on here. Get yourself a pizza for $1.
Nice.
Wow. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I could get a lot of pizza right now.
Yep.
And then look at this. It says on the bottom of the menu, it has the University of Maine basketball schedule. And it is from 1967. Wow. That is pretty cool. So you guys have a connection with the University of Maine, you said, right? Back then?
Yeah, we do. I mean, that's really why we're here is the university. And when I went to the University of Maine, albeit certainly not in the 1960s, between governors and Pats and even
Pats had been around for quite a while, right?
Yeah, yep.
Pizza Dome. I mean, those were the three places to eat. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. You guys are a little bit younger, but
no.
Those were the places to eat.
Okay.
And we'd come in and get the cheeseburger blue plate and 2 cheeseburgers, a big pile of fries and a milkshake, and as college kids that would fill you up for a day, right? Yeah. So at a cheap price. So that's definitely a big connection. And Governors for many years did concessions at the University of Maine. We sold concessions at the hockey games and football games. And
you think that helped the overall business of the restaurant, specifically the Old Town restaurant?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Being right down the street from the University of Maine.
It certainly it created that generation of kids going to the University of Maine that knew what we were all about.
So how do you reach the new the younger generation where old Governors has that long history, and if you were to go in there, I think I would say a large portion of the customers are a little bit on the older side, and but with that being said, I have gone in there and I have seen a lot of college kids in there too, both working and dining in. So how do you reach them from a marketing standpoint? You said you did a lot of marketing, and I do see that you got the specials. It's just part of Governor's history. You just had a big Governor's stimulus special. I know I took advantage of the cheeseburger and fries for $5 on a couple occasions, but then you got the lobster roll and fries, and we're kind of coming to the end of it right now. You're finishing up for this month. How do you reach those people? What are some of the ways you've done that?
That's definitely the challenge, right? Is how do you reach the younger generation? Yeah. And really for us, it's trying to embrace, trends in food that younger generation is looking for while still trying to maintain those classic dishes.
Could you give us an example?
Yeah. So, a couple of years back, we really took a look at, things on our menu that really could appeal to a younger generation. So we brought in a lot of different salad options and some of our, evaluated some of our comfort food stuff and got rid of some things that, weren't necessarily winners for us. Pizza, we used to sell pizza all the time, and pizza became, a different kind of game, especially with all the pizza companies that are in there.
There's a lot of different pizza options around here. Yeah.
That wasn't us anymore. Getting rid of, fried options and things like that, and focusing more on just comfort food and seafood and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So what's your most popular item?
Wow, that is a great question. So,
thank you.
And I'll answer that in a couple different ways. Dollar-wise, I would say our lobster roll is the biggest revenue generator for us.
Yes, sir.
And that's really because of our lobster roll day that we do every year. This year was a little different.
Are you allowed to tell us how you can offer them so cheap, or is that a secret? Do you just not make any money on them?
We don't make a lot of money on those. It's really more of a volume thing because last year we sold on that day over 26,000.
26,000. You guys, if you're listening, you heard that right. 26,000 lobster rolls on a single day, and one of them was me. I was out front with my phone taking a live video to all my followers on Facebook eating the Governor's lobster roll for $6.66 is what it was. The price was on it. So.
Yeah, and that's a crazy day. That's an all hands on deck, fun day. We spend a week preparing for that, and it's a lot of fun. It's a long day for a lot of people, and we couldn't pull it off without our team members, their friends and family. I mean, we bring in people from vendors.
How do you prep for a day like that when you know you're going to sell? Come on, you probably knew you were going to sell 10, 20,000 lobster rolls.
Black Friday for you guys.
How much lobster do you have to bring in?
We bring in... I'd say 150 cases, and there's 24 pounds in each case. So
what's the math on that?
2,500 pounds of lobster.
2,500 pounds, and it is not small pieces of lobster. It's the big pieces.
Yeah,
it's the way Maine lobster roll should be.
Yep.
And they got the buttered side buns on it. I feel like those look like some really good.
Oh, and we don't use the traditional store bought Frankfurt.
No,
rolls.
you have some.
We do our own.
Nice.
Yeah,
and I think that for me, that's what sold it for me. Is it's all golden on both sides. It's kind of like a shaved off sides.
Yep.
But it's not your traditional, like the store ones where a little bit we sell them. They're a little small. But these, man, and it's just, you just take a bite and it's just like all butter and lobster.
Yep.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Did you bring lobster rolls? Or we got cookies.
I should have.
So what's your favorite item?
My favorite item is probably chocolate peanut butter cake.
Nice.
It's hard to...
The sweet tooth.
And the older I get, I try to kind of avoid that because the pieces are ginormous and I can't eat a whole piece like I could back in the day. But it's a treat for sure. But we have just some great stuff.
Yeah, we had a customer, actually, I'm sorry, we just had somebody comment on Box Maine Facebook page. I asked them what their favorite thing was about the Governor's Restaurant, and they said the cream horns.
Nice.
So when you go into at least the Old Town one, I keep referring it to because that's where we're at. You go in there and you're going to see a display case right in the front, right by checkout. I almost think that was a strategy involved there, right? You get and then there's a big tall case, and it's got all the desserts and the cakes and the pies.
Isn't it rotating too?
Well, that's a funny story. We used to have rotating pie cases, and that you can't really find those anymore because they're expensive to make and they break down a lot.
Sure.
So we've started to transition to ones that don't rotate, which is sad. It really, that's something
a little eye catcher, really.
To have. Yeah.
You're walking out, you're all filled up on lobster rolls or clam dinner, and you're just like, oh, I gotta get it.
It's a centerpiece. That's it. Just really draws your attention to it.
Now let's not forget that you guys also do breakfast. That's one of my favorite things to get at Governor's.
Yeah, I mean that's when I go because they have the breakfast. I don't know if you guys are still doing it.
Well, we're not doing it right now, but breakfast buffet, and that I would say that's probably our most popular item. We sell a lot of breakfast buffets when we are able to do that, and hope to do that again someday soon. But it's the traditional sort of Maine, breakfast, all you can eat with everything: baked beans, pancakes, bacon, sausage, muffins, the whole shebang.
Yeah, so Judy Shorey from Facebook says, I go once a week again now. Now that the dining has started, and she goes to the Waterville one. She says they make the best cream horns, and Wednesday is scallop day.
Nice.
We got Norma Shorey. She's saying, I wonder if they're related. Haddock chowder and chocolate peanut butter pie. Love the Governors in Waterville. Wow, a lot of Waterville ones on here. The roasted turkey dinner is my favorite from Linda. We got so I mean, a lot of people say South Portland. I missed the one from South Portland. I've been to the Bangor and the Waterville one. Just ordered from Waterville last night. And here's another one, Laura. I'm used to the one in Waterville. What is with the one in Waterville?
You guys are popular in Waterville.
Wow. Yeah, so we have a bunch of people on here that love Governors, and I know that we do. And so right now, let's give people the update on the Governor's Restaurant. Dine in, yes or no?
Yes.
So yes. Mm-hmm. And what are the hours and everything that people can go?
We're open breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can go right to our website. Each store is pretty much the same in terms of hours. We're open 6:30 to 9:30 at night, depending on the day of the week. Right now, we do serve breakfast all day. I know that's something that a lot of people love, that option. And we are open for dine-in. We're following all of the regulations that are out there. We're socially distant,
masked up
as we can be, masked up, gloved up. We found some cool little face shields that work well for our folks. Nice. We're offering curbside takeout everywhere. 4 of our stores offer delivery through DoorDash and online ordering, and you can find that all at governorsrestaurant.com.
Excellent.
Nice.
So let's talk about your day. What does your day look like? We ask this every time. We want to know, what's Jason's day? Governor's Restaurant. You're doing a lot of the operations, a lot of the marketing. What's a normal day look like for you, if you ever have a normal day?
Yeah, my normal day, I mean, I'll start off, our stores send out communication emails every day. So I'll review those and see what's going on and see if there's any issues or anything that we can share about, and go through that stuff, and then work through the list of what needs to be done that day and what we've got going on. Like today, for example, where our stimulus specials are ending here this week. I'm starting to look at what does the second half of 2020 look like for us. We typically do those calendar specials a couple times a year, and our next one,
October. Right?
Our next one coming up is October, and so we're starting to kind of think about what does that look like. And like a lot of businesses right now, honestly, what does next week look like? So for us, we've had 3 weeks of specials that we've been very happy about what we've been able to do there. We're still running 50-60% of what our normal sales are, but we'll make it work. But what does next week look like without some specials that we might be running, and how can we manage that and take care of our people first of all, and make sure that we're delivering that high level of guest service for our guests that do come in and see us. So for me, I'm looking at that stuff. I love being able to do things like this and chat with you guys about the company, and that's I know for tomorrow I'm going to be spending time in our Bangor store. We've got a capital breakfast special that we're running tomorrow, and then I'm heading down to Ellsworth to visit our Ellsworth store.
Wow, so you're bouncing around at all of them, huh?
Yeah, so and I haven't been able to travel much recently, so I'm excited to get out to a couple of the stores.
So when you go to those stores, you're just kind of looking at everything, how things are operating down there, making sure everything's up to standard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. So, yeah, good to know. You got to be able to make sure everything's running smooth. So, well, what's something you would have wish you had known when you first started with the company? Is there anything in particular that that's learned along the way?
That's a great question. I mean, I started with the company right out of college, and I learned more the first year out of college than probably my 4+ years at the university.
Same here.
Hey, hold on, let's slow that. Let's repeat that for a second here.
Plus,
Matt, you agree?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. It's something about just getting hands-on, diving in, learning, maybe the hard way sometimes.
Which is the cool thing about Jack at Spencer's Ice Cream, where he's had the opportunity to, have that education in business while he's going to the university. I know it's talking to him, he's a busy boy, but what a cool opportunity to have. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if there's anything that I wish I knew. I think that learning as you go and learning about business and life is a great experience, and being open to those experiences and just being a sponge those first couple of years, I think is really helped
learning to
out.
roll with the punches too. Sometimes, and like I said, we all have our bad days. For instance, today I hopped on my computer, check emails, social media, and all of a sudden my computer just starts wigging out, and it looks like it's got a virus on it. I've completely threw off my whole day, but day has to continue, so I find another computer and I continue on and continue with work. I mean, and the same thing, and I imagine in the restaurant industry, you got machines going down or people calling in, and COVID-19 happening.
Yeah.
And so you just got to roll with it.
There's always something happening, right? So it's
never a dull moment.
Deal with it and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're ready to hop on the line there and start cooking and stuff, right?
Yeah, whatever it takes. I mean, yesterday I was talking to guests in our Bangor store for a few minutes, and we had some folks that weren't necessarily happy with having to put a mask on. So I'm out talking to guests and kind of let them know how important that is, and how we view that, because safety really is our number one priority for our team members and for our guests as well. And so, we want to make sure that we're able to keep the doors open. So from doing that to maybe cooking breakfast for a few minutes when help is needed. And, I'm really lucky that we have such a great team of people that they're all willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and I think this next question, you've pretty much already answered it. How do you stand out from your competitors? It's a pretty obvious question, I think. But how would you say that? We'd wrap that up.
I think our ability to always be willing to get better. And improve, because we know we're not perfect. We know there's that opportunity to get better, to learn new things, to try new things. And there's a lot of great competition in the state of Maine. Our friends at Dysart's do a great job.
Yeah.
Our friends at Gagan's do a fabulous job. There's other companies in other towns that do a wonderful job of serving food and taking care of guests, and we all learn from each other what works and what doesn't work. But our company will always be focused on how can we improve.
So do you guys take part in any like trade shows or anything like that?
Not necessarily. We've done some things with our local chamber of commerces before, with that type of stuff, but not a whole lot.
Yeah,
we'll do like the Whoopie Pie Festival.
Sure.
And some big ones like that.
Which got canceled or it got postponed.
Postponed, yeah. I think it's still on. We've done that every year they've had it. That's a pretty cool event.
Yeah, I went there last year.
We've won a bunch of awards on that.
The Whoopie Pie, right? Yeah. So you guys have Whoopie Pies there at the Governor's Restaurant. Definitely a long history, a Maine treat.
Yep.
And so you can definitely get some delicious whoopie pies from Governor's Restaurant. Yeah, I know a lot of people are struggling with the fairs and festivals and shows, a lot of them being canceled. Oh, yeah. It kind of hurt Matt and I a little bit. We had some that we were looking at going to, a Common Ground Fair or something that was one of the ones you were going to. And I go to, 4 or 5 throughout the year. So it's tough, but you just got to kind of go with it and find other ways to, reinvent yourself, I guess, a little bit.
It's such a trickle-down effect, too, because it hurts you guys. It hurts you being able to spread the word about your companies, right? Yeah. But it hurts those towns. It hurts the businesses in those towns where folks might come into, the Common Ground Fair and go visit a restaurant afterwards and do stuff like that. I mean,
stay in a hotel.
Right, concerts in Bangor. Yeah. That's not going to happen. We'll be lucky if we have them next year, in my opinion. And
that's probably one of the biggest.
That's a huge
income generators,
economic impact to the city of Bangor.
Yeah, so, and then the coastal towns. I mean, we've already talked about how they're going to be getting hit pretty hard. So definitely some difficulties that all these small businesses are going to have to figure out. Some of them aren't going to make it. Some of them are. Nikki's Diner. Long history there. We just saw recently that they had to close their doors, and that's a tough one, because that's another one that's the nostalgia. But yeah, so speaking of that and just, having to close doors, you guys seem like you're doing all right, and I'm glad to be able to try to spread some love and highlight you guys, and Matt and I will keep bringing our families there and
sure will.
Getting some food.
So, what sort of plans do you guys have for the future here?
Well, as I said, we're still a family-owned company, and we don't have any plans on expansion at this point. Sure. Our last store that we opened was our store in Ellsworth, which has been almost 10 years now that we've been down there. We've been real happy with that. It would have to be the right spot, the right situation.
Right now,
especially right now,
probably not.
It's totally off the table. But we've been very lucky in our 60 plus years to be in a lot of different areas in Maine, and some have worked and some have not worked. We had stores in South Portland, as you mentioned. One of the commenters on Facebook missed that location, and that was one that was a franchise that we actually bought that back and decided it was just too tough to go in that market, and so we closed that right before we opened our Ellsworth store. That really kind of gave us the boost that we needed to be able to focus on that. But we've been in Biddeford, we've been in Westbrook.
Wow.
We had a store in Holton for a while, and those just didn't work out. And we're happy that we had those experiences, but we're really happy where we are right now. Like I said, we've been very fortunate to get through so far where we are, and we think we're pretty lucky compared to a lot of restaurants. And so we hope that will kind of continue.
Yeah, I mean, Dan and I were just talking in our little intro that, sometimes we have to evaluate our products and our business and get rid of some stuff. And I mean, obviously what you're doing with those locations is obviously a lot bigger than what we're doing. But it seems like that's an aspect of every business is evaluating and removing those things that just aren't working.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to Jack. We talked about Jack. I know we're bringing it up a lot. Make sure you go listen to that episode if you haven't right now, it's episode 13 with Spencer's Ice Cream. I loved it. It's when we talked to him about the growth of his company, how he's had to make changes, and as the business grows and scales, not making that move too quickly. He's in Bradley, Maine right now, a little bit out of the way. He'd like to be maybe a little bit more centrally located, closer to the highway, right? Bigger freezer, more ice cream trailer, but he's trying to take it slow. He's trying to be patient and not overextend himself, not start, franchising all over the place, and then having to cut off place. It's just not working out, having to pull back. So yeah, it's definitely something we can learn. I know myself, I've had that, desire to just get a bigger place and commercial vehicles and hire more employees. And so it's just, you gotta pace yourself, I think, is the best thing, and not overextend. Great. Well, awesome. So Governors, you can go on governorsrestaurant.com. That's what people. What about social media? Because I see a lot of stuff on social media. I see some really good graphics. I see a lot of great sales, community. What kind of are you guys doing things in the community? And
as much as we can, for sure. We love our communities. We love to try to support different organizations in the community, and with whatever we do. We've done benefit nights in the past where an organization will come in and we'll donate a part of the proceeds to them. But we love taking care of the people that take care of us, really. So, those type of things are very important to us. But yeah, we're all over social media, all the big ones, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And is it Governor's Restaurant, or do you have a by location of the stores?
Both. We have a brand page for Governor's Restaurant, and then each of our stores has a page on Facebook. But on the other social media, we just run one. There's only so much you can do, right? Yeah. So we're on Twitter at Gov's Restaurant. We're on Instagram, Governor's Restaurant. And we're not on Snapchat yet, but you never know.
Yeah. And you guys have 6 locations right now, right?
We do.
And so where are those locations?
We're in Lewiston, Waterville, Ellsworth, Bangor, Old Town, and Presque Isle.
Nice.
And one question I have to ask that we do ask our guests is, what are some common misconceptions about Governors or about the food service industry? What are something when someone expects to come into a Governor's Restaurant? Maybe there's something that they are, misconceive.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Do they expect the governor to be in there?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when you get folks who aren't from around here that come in and they're looking at, like, why is a restaurant named after a governor? That's kind of a lame concept, and it's really not. I mean,
so what is the history on that? So you got a little governor guy with you.
Yeah,
I've
got the governor guy. This is sort of based on Boss Tweed, who was a politician back in the 1800s in New York City, and a local fellow drew up the concept for the governor back in the day, and it kind of stuck. And it's interesting. I mean, when you think about brands back in the 60s and 70s and McDonald's and places like that had a mascot, and that was really kind of where that came from, and we've shifted over the years, and we used to our tagline used to be most unusual restaurant, because we had just weird stuff like strawberry pizza and chicken livers and things like that.
Gosh.
We don't we're more mainstream now, where we want to be known as a restaurant, a bakery, a family place where you can bring your family and dine. And so that's really our focus with that. And the governor just kind of sticks. And I mean, we're so well known in our areas with that, we'd never even think about changing that. And it's interesting. I mean, I think in terms of misconception, that's probably the biggest one. I mean, the food service industry is something that obviously in our state, it's such a big part of the economy.
Yeah.
And, we just have great, it's all about the people. It's all about, hiring the best people that you can find, and being able to deliver, a high level of service. And we're human. We screw up. It happens. But we try our best to make good on it and take care of people. So, I guess that's kind of the biggest misconception is that, we screw up, but we'll take care of you.
Yep, that's a good answer.
Yeah, I mean,
we screw up, but we'll take care of you. That's going to be my tagline. We've been doing a lot of screwing up lately.
Well, you guys certainly do. You certainly take care of people, and fill our bellies with that comfort food. And I think
I love comfort food.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on the podcast. And
is there any product that you guys have coming up? Anything new in the making, or is it?
Well, it's an interesting time right now.
Yeah, not a good time to bring on new stuff.
We're not really, bringing on a bunch of new stuff. I mean, we just brought back a lot of stuff on our regular menu, but we're doing some planning, and we're definitely going to do something in October for some specials. We're planning, for the worst and hoping for the best, like I think a lot of other companies are doing, and we've got some really good ideas that we're going to try to see what happens. So
keep an eye to find these daily specials. If you continue doing some daily specials, people can best way to find out is on
Facebook, social media. Yeah, we'll post it all on our website as well. But Facebook's probably the best place to find out.
Okay,
yeah,
great, awesome. And that's Governor's Restaurant. So thank you, Jason, so much for taking the time out of your day to come over on the Made in Maine podcast show.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. If you enjoyed this episode of the Made in Maine podcast, then please consider supporting us through Patreon. Patreon is a great way for our listeners to support the podcast by donating a couple bucks to us for each episode that we put out. The podcast has not been free to produce, from the equipment that we need to record these episodes to the fees that we pay to host the podcast. It does cost us some money, and any amount of support that you can give would be greatly appreciated. Right now, there are 3 tiers that you can choose from, and some of the donor tiers come along with some benefits. So head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/madeinmainepodcast to learn more. You can also help us put Maine on the map by sharing episodes on social media sites like Facebook or Instagram, anywhere that you think someone would be interested in our content. Another way you can support us by leaving us a review on the podcast app that you are listening on, and we may even choose your review to share it on the next episode. You can find us on Made in Maine Podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/madeinmainepodcast. You can also find each episode on the podcast platforms like Podbean, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, and now on YouTube as Made in Maine Podcast. Thank you for listening and helping us put Maine on the map.